Alright, hopefully a quick video narrowed to one subject, an understanding of the difference between a real value and projected value. So what we claim to be valuable versus what can be argued or proven even through a rational proof to be valuable. How the brain works, a little bit of that. And it's because people like Hoffladay refuse to listen to the argument being made. So it's his argument that because the cause of your value experience may be meaningless, therefore the value experience is meaningless. And if the cause of the value experience is not meaningless, then somehow the value experience is meaningful. And it just doesn't work that way. It works the other way around. Exactly the opposite, Dumbo.
Men will try and slippery move to say, I'm describing the intrinsic value.
Right, so he says it's a slippery move for me to say I'm a consciousness. I've experienced positive and negative sensations. I know them to be decidedly different in terms of their value. And I know it to be a qualitative difference. And I know the worst negative sensation is clearly something I would not, I would avoid with all passion.
But that is just to engage in circular reasoning.
Well, there's nothing circular in explaining that I'm a conscious organism. I have tasted the sensations. I know them to be different in a huge way, and that their difference is entirely value rich, value derived. They're only different because they're different values. One's negative and one's positive. That's the only way they're meaningfully different.
Whereby he sets up his definition of what counts within his description.
No, that's a lie. So, as you always do lie, there's no definition of what counts. I've said this over and over and over again. I could care less what causes a feeling in a sentient organism. It's irrelevant almost what causes a feeling. The only thing that matters is the feeling. So, I've stated exactly the opposite of what you just said I said. So you're just, I can only say you're a liar. I mean, I've said it over and over and over again. What causes sensations are of little concern, except when there's some reasoning involved, like where you go, look, I don't like rats, but I understand as rats feel. Therefore, if I see rats suffering, I see them as little people, and that makes it easier for me to understand that it's a real bad thing happening. So I'm using a little mental trick to understand that a rat isn't a rat, it's something better than a rat, and therefore I can empathize. But that's it.
So you have to accept his opening gambit.
Yes, the opening gambit is I'm a conscious organism, and consciousness, the way I experience it, there's clear differences between the good and the bad. I mean, billions and billions of dollars worth of value difference between the good and the bad. And this whole conversation about it being moot or irrelevant or meaningless or insignificant, that I experience good or bad, is, in my opinion, a ludicrous conversation. You may have it about your own feelings. If you wish to declare your own welfare irrelevant, whether I dump you in a pot of slowly boiling acid or a comfy pillow watching a nice movie, and you can't tell the difference between those experiences, well, in my opinion, that's your sensation problem. It's not something I have to deal with philosophically, beyond just saying you'll be insane.
So there is no logical necessity.
There's no logical necessity except beyond the fact that you have to acknowledge that sensation is the important feature that's happening on planet Earth. If nothing was feeling, then bumper cars all you want. Drive them off cliffs, blow them up, explode them, nuke them, do whatever you want with them. It'll all be entertaining and fun because nothing significant can possibly happen. but it's not a video game. It's not fake death. It's not fake harm. It's not fake arm fly off. No, it's real. It has real experiences. Real sentient organisms experience the pain of the brutality and the beatings and the deprivation and the starvation and all of the rest of it. They chemo, the rest of it. They feel it. They experience it. If you don't understand that, then you're just too fucking stupid.
To accepting his values.
Again, no, accepting one statement about the fact that the only thing happening on planet Earth that makes it at all significant, meaningful, important, is that the things on planet Earth, a lot of them, have brains, and in those brains is created the illusion of sensation, which is the creation of value. Okay, so enough of that. I'll draw a quick picture just for the fun of it. So I'm that kind of generosity kind of guy. I'll throw in little extras. I'm a nice guy. I have a good value proportions and such. Okay, so this is consciousness. It's basically just a bucket. And you can throw into the bucket feelings. And you can throw into the bucket thoughts. Now, thoughts are just symbolic things like that you don't have any real emotional attachment to. So it could be like a number 2, or like sometimes an apple. You know, if you don't really eat apples, then apples are sort of irrelevant. And feelings are, you know, headaches. So they're like pain. They could be like pain, and they can be frustration. So we'll just say emotion, emo. And so that's what gets thrown in here. Okay, so now if your brain throws in here, the whole point is that it creates a problem in the world. So say it has an eyeball over here and it's looking out into the world, and the eyeball sees the world, and it sees something. So something, yes, something. And then it can have this reaction that plops a feeling into your bucket. Or you can have a physical sensation because your big toe on your foot gets hit by a hammer. Well, let's not even bother drawing. Well, I already drew it, so I might as well finish the drawing. Okay, big toe gets hit by a hammer. Sensation goes in. Ooh, not a good sensation. So you have some bad in here. Something irritating, annoying, obnoxious. Won't leave you alone. It'll keep bothering you until you think on it. So you use your thinking thing to say, well, how can I solve the problem of the smashed toe? How do I ease the pain? I could grab it with my fingers, I could do different things, blah, blah, blah. And this is the learning part I was talking about. So that's how you do the learning thing. You do the learning thing because you're provoked to do it. Okay, you're obnoxiously irritated, and that irritation says fix the irritation. So in the example of seeing, I can see the hammer heading for my mommy. So, well, I'm not going to bother drawing mommies, right? So, yeah, my mommy's, well, she's much taller than that. But she got old, so she got much shorter, but she's old. And so the hammer's over my mommy's head, and that is going to appear to me to be a problem. I'm going to have an emotional reaction because my brain will logically put together what that means. It will imagine myself getting hit by a hammer. It'll know, oh, getting hit by hammers causes all kind of bad sensations, might make me retarded, might ruin my life forever, might put me in a wheelchair, blah, blah, blah. It does all that stuff really quick in the subconscious. And it recognizes threat. And it's very irritating. I'm irritated until that hammer is not hanging over my mommy's head. See? So now there's a problem in the world. So this is a problem in the world. And now my brain can make that a problem inside of me, because it's going to give me a worry. Okay, a worry is going to go in here, and a concern and a fret and anxiety and negative emotions are going to be created. And now the thought thing is going to have to fix it. And it's going to have to say, hey Gary, just go over there and put one of those Ronald Reagan bubbles over your mommy, and everything will be okay. And now she can move back to her little shiny city on a hill, and everything's fine because she has a hammer guard. Or you could shoot the hammer, or you could shoot the person holding the hammer, or you could do lots of different strategies that will affect the change that you want. And if you have actual memories, because there's lots of people chasing your mother with hammers, And so in the past you found out really simple things to do, like I just threw a banana peel and the hammer person slips on the banana peel, falls down. Really simple. Okay. So I learn through experience. I mean, maybe I see somebody else's whose mother gets chased around by hammers a lot, and I see what strategy they use, and I say, hey, that one works really well. They only spent 10 cents on that, and that's a really efficient way to stop the old hammer whacking your mother thing. And see, so this is all there is. But I mean, when this happens, when these feelings go in here, this is where value becomes real. So see, what I'm trying to tell you logically is that, yes, of course you can use subjective connections to people, like big boobs, a big giant boob. that can be like, oh, that's so cool, I love that big boob. You could be all excited because there's these big giant boobs. But that's a projected value. The fact that big boobs make you have a good feeling, see, that doesn't necessarily have anything to do with logic. Where something getting harmed, that has a logical connection. So you can sort of see that. To see the boobs, okay, well that's just a subjective conditioned response, and instead of boobs it could be penises that do it for you. Yes, little penises. So instead of boobs it could be penises. So that's all subjective, what turns you on. But certain things, the idea that this would have value because there's a sentient organism. See, I can take mommy out of there, and then it's no longer a subjective response, and I could just I could put Donald Trump in here. And I could say, once Donald Trump is done being a threat to the universe, then I could say, well, there's no point in harming him now. I mean, as long as he's a threat, yeah, I can't worry about him because he's a bigger threat. He's doing more hammering than getting hammered. But once the hammers are out of his hands, then I could say, okay, I don't want him hammered. I don't want consciousness harmed. Harm is bad because I've experienced bad. I know what bad is because I've experienced it. I know what bad is because I have experienced it. I can't make the argument any clearer, man. Maybe you haven't, okay? Maybe you just haven't had any really horrible sensations. Maybe you haven't had any horrible years of your life or horrible months or horrible weeks. Well, I have, and I know that these are horrible things, and the word horrible is almost not good enough for describing how bad these things are. And I know if it's happening to somebody else, well, that's horrible. If they're drowning or they're going through some other conscious experience that I know to be very unpleasant, then you wouldn't want to do that. Not a good thing. Not a good thing. It's a bad thing. So anyway, I'll probably have to do this again because I didn't do this very perfectly, but I'm just saying this is the idea. Consciousness is irrelevant. See, he's got another one of these stupid things. Where he's going to wear a wig and pretend to do an Eminem video. Because he's an obnoxious troll, and that's all he is. An idiot. This is the best he can do as a rational argument. He can't do what's called quoting me and then arguing. No. He can just misparaphrase and lie about what I said and then pretend I didn't make a very good argument when, because he just ignores it. Because he doesn't deal with very good arguments. He doesn't deal with the argument made. He deals with the straw man he creates. Because he's just a lying cheater. And a weasel and a weak-ass motherfucker. Who probably does fuck his mother. I mean, I wouldn't put it past him. Anyway. So yeah, there's not much else to... I would also add in here, like, obviously the good is sort of an illusion, because there's no real good you can put into consciousness. All you really do is take a bad out, and that makes a good. Like, I take the bad of poverty out. I remove poverty as a circumstance, and that takes a ton of bads and worries out. There's a tons of worries in here when you're poor. And because you have to do everything, you have to fix everything, you have to be able to buy it cheap, you have to get something on sale, you have to, but you can't afford to have I can't pay $1,200 for a washer and dryer, I can't have that stuff. So you have to go to like junkyards and shit and do all this kind of bullshit, and so you have lots of worries when you're poor, and then when you get rich, it takes all those worries away. So that's really what you're gaining in terms of the happiness. The happiness is just the absence of the worry. That's pretty much how the brain works, people. It really is. So I clearly know the difference between projected value in the sense that we, because we have a condition to biology, we project value on food and we project value on sex objects. And we might even project some value on narratives, storytelling. We have a favorite movie because we like certain kinds of things in our movies. But the subjectivity sort of ends in that kind of realm. Your kids, your mother, your relatives, this little bit of bullshit. And beyond that, philosophically, though, you can understand, good causes, like causes that prevent diseases from spreading, or causes that make our economic work go further because there's less waste, less middlemen pulling percentages out. These are all logical arguments about goods that are based on the fact that we know, you know from personal experience, that, hey, if I can make everybody less poor, that's got to be a good thing. What can't you understand about this, retard? I clearly know the difference between identifying something that is a subjective projective value, where I said I personally like something, I personally like this kind of food, and recognizing that there are organisms on Earth that have sensations, and if they experience torture, that's a bad thing. Now, if you can't understand that torture, when it's experienced by a sentient organism, is a bad thing, then I have no help for you, as I've stated before. You're a psychotic, crazy lunatic. You are so fucking retarded, your psychology and your intellect is just completely annihilated and turned into mush. If you don't understand that torture is bad, you've misidentified the most important fact in the fucking universe, you stupid cunt. Enough said. Asshole! Which also goes for the one commenter. And to Kontavag. Thank you. I brought more powerful speakers for my computer. Oh, he bought them. Let's see. He brought. What in Mendham believes. What ID Mendham believes his values are logical. I don't know. I'm saying the fact that I'm valuing torture as a bad and valuing the absence of torture as a good, in my opinion, is a pretty indestructible piece of logic. I'm basically just explaining to you exactly how it works for my consciousness. My consciousness can't get any other way. There's no way in a zillion years you're going to convince me that being tortured is actually fun, and not being tortured is actually horrible, awful, bad. That not being tortured is a bad thing. No, that's never going to happen, you crazy fuck. Ever, 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 ever. Because that is so fucking stupid. I mean, it has to be, it's dumber than any religion on earth. And there are some dumb religions on earth. I'm sure there's a religion that prays to the broken piece of pretzel. Okay, it's even dumber than the stupid fuckers who are praying to a broken piece of pretzel. That's how fucking stupid you are if you're really going to make this assertion that you think it is quite possible that torture is actually fun and not being tortured is actually torture. Fucking assholes. Colossal, big, gaping, stinking fucking assholes.